Welcome to the Late Night Race Review. With more clean laps than a high-end strip club, it's the Miami Grand Prix. We'll let Max Verstappen describe his drive today.
Simply lovely.
As Checo hears radio silence. Alonso gets pulled over for watching TV while driving. And Red Bull put more distance between themselves and the pack than Ed Sheeran from a Marvin Gaye chord progression. We wrap it up with a look at our Fantasy League and our predictions game, as always. Don't forget to support the podcast by hitting those like, follow and subscribe buttons. Welcome back to the Late Night Race Review. I'm Owen Scott, and with me as always is the delightful Dave Jericho and the ingenious Isidro Gonçalves. We are back with the Miami GP. And before we start, Dave, do you want to give us a quick little look at the F1 Fantasy League?
Okay, for anyone new, we have an official F1 Fantasy League going, Late Night Race Review. And just a little update, we still have Stop Inventing at the top of the table. So nobody's managed to budge that person off yet. I have myself moved up to third. Everyone will be delighted to know. And Scotty, you are down in 18th still. In fact, you've dropped to 18th. And Isidro, you've moved up to 17th.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, big movement going on this week.
Lovely. All right, well, let's kick into it, lads. Let's get an overall view of what we thought of the race. First of all, compared to last year's race, we'll talk a little bit about, say, the hype around the race. Dave, what did you feel about this year's as opposed to last year's?
Do you know, this year because I think the hype last year ruined the race for me. I think I was got caught up in the whole kind of that sort of the circus that went around with the race last year. So I don't know, I kind of got under my skin a bit. So it kind of put me in a bad mood for the race. So this year I purposely blanked all that and thought I'm going to go into this just going to watch the race and I'm going to watch qualifying, I'm going to watch the race. And then I accidentally caught the start of that driver introduction thing. And I was like, and I just launched for the remote and turned it off. So, so that aside, I missed all that. But I think something needs to change for the Miami Grand Prix, and I don't have any answers or for what. But I mean, we had a green track, we had a mixed up grid, we had a bit of gusty winds. Surely, like they were the ingredients for a fairly spicy race, and we didn't get one. It was a fairly flat one. So I don't know, something's got to change for next year. I don't know. I have no idea what, but you know, they've been given every opportunity to make an exciting race and it hasn't happened yet.
Possibly to give Max maybe one of those golf buggies that they brought him to the podium in instead of the Red Bull might make it a little bit more interesting.
He'd still get first.
You would. Isidro, what do you think of the race overall?
The race overall, it was very good if you are in the Red Bull seat. Otherwise, you get worried about seeing that your car, as fast as you may think it is, you just see the Red Bull red pass by you, and nothing you can do about that. But otherwise, I think it was good. Max show why he's the number one driver. He did a class job.
All right. Now that you mentioned in Max there, well, let's get into Max and Red Bull and Max versus Perez. Dave, was there a chance yesterday for Perez? Do you think that Red Bull kind of got in his way a little bit, or what's your theory behind Perez's failure yesterday to take first place?
I don't think Perez had anything to answer what Verstappen had. Don't think the team did him any favors. The strategy was probably the optimal strategy, the tire strategy to be on to start the race. I mean, you could see everybody around was on the soft tires. There was people starting further back were on the hard tires, which made sense. But as the race went on, it obviously became clear that the hard tires were sort of the better option. But I don't think he had anything to give. I mean, we saw he was talking earlier in the weekend that he just didn't have the confidence in the car, you know, the low grip or the fluctuating grip. So we could see that maybe in that overtake that Verstappen had on Perez into turn one. You could see he wasn't really overly aggressive in defending that or trying to hold that position. And I think maybe that kind of shows a little bit of the confidence or lack of confidence that he had in the grip and the ability. So, yeah, overall, I think even if they had put him on a different strategy, I'm not sure with that confidence factor. I'm not sure maybe he had an answer to Verstappen's pace. He was class this weekend. He really was.
It seemed to be that middle sector just in and around when all the tire changes and pit stops were happening, that Verstappen seemed to put the pedal to the metal and really pushed on. Checo, as you say, didn't really have an answer to him.
No.
What did you think of Max in that middle stint there, where he gained, what was it, almost 2 seconds, and kind of made Checo's pit stop a little bit illegitimate?
It was a lesson to see how Max can do very well if you want. And yesterday, that strategy, it worked very well for him. He managed to take care of the tires far longer than the team was expecting. And that was enough for him to just go in and get, the last 15 laps. And that was not enough for Perez to catch up. So that was a good lesson that Max knows how to drive and also knows a bit how to take care of the tires, even if there was a few issues that he would complain, but he was solid in the last race.
Dave, is there anything behind? We heard Sky Sports kind of talking about there was no radio talk back and forth between Checo and the pit wall as to how Verstappen was progressing, and how that pit stop was going to look for him. Is there anything to that there? Is there anything to look into there between Checo and the Red Bull pit wall?
It was a strange one, wasn't it? I mean, I did think there was no, like, you're hearing all the time constant communication with Max as to what the gap was looking like after the pit stops to Perez. Yet Perez was getting no hurry up or, manage tires, or you can burn through these tires now. I mean, Max was getting told constantly, you can use up the life of these tires now, push till your pit stop. Yeah, it was a strange one, but I mean, I'll be honest. At the time I was looking at, I think, just Verstappen winning another race. It was just kind of like, it was predictable. So I kind of wanted to see something different. So in that light, I was watching the race and I was kind of a bit annoyed. I was thought, maybe they could have done something that would have given Perez a better shout and a better crack at it. But I think even if they were communicating with him the whole time, telling him, I think all they were doing was telling him the inevitable. They may as well have just said on the radio, you are going to be overtaken by Max, towards the end of the race. So be prepared. I don't think there was anything he was going to do, even if they were in constant communication.
Isidro, do you think there is anything that he can do over the space of the season, or should we just call this one Max can start from anywhere in the grid and it's just inevitable? He is Thanos. What do you think?
I think even if Max and Perez, they both start 19 and 20, they'll still end up first and second. That's for sure. The Red Bull is just as good, and we could see this week the fact that Max had no trouble at all, just flying past 1, 2, 3 cars at a time. Just incredible, the Red Bull.
Yeah, phenomenal. There's no catching them this season. I think that's it. As we said last week, and I say every week, and I probably will for the next few podcasts, this season is pretty much done, I think. All right, Dave, we move on to Fernando Alonso. A little bit lonely in P3 there. He had a quiet enough race, but just seemed to kind of just tick away and do what he needed to do to get that podium.
Do you know that Aston Martin actually performed better, apart from Lance Stroll, obviously, like starting at the back, but I didn't expect Alonso to get third. When I kind of saw the car over the weekend, I thought, they're not going to. I thought maybe, I'll be honest, I thought the Ferraris were going to be a bit better. But I just didn't think the Aston Martins were going to be as strong. But yeah, Alonso held on, did a great job. And yeah, there was no competition for that third place at all.
Yeah, he was good, but out, and that there didn't seem any competition, but from Merc or Ferrari. And do you think over the space of the season that this will change, or is it looking fairly nailed on that Alonso is going to take P3 in that driver's title?
I think there's some big upgrades coming for in Imola for Mercedes, and look, we'll talk about each team individually later on. But I think we're going to see bit of a shuffle happening here, and I think Ferrari are possibly losing out here. I think they're falling asleep at the wheel. Mercedes are introducing some updates in Imola that, and I'm not sure now if Aston Martin are doing the same, but I think that we may start seeing whether after Imola whether Mercedes are going to be able to start catching up to the Aston Martin and overtake Aston Martin in the constructors, or at least are they going to have a platform to be able to challenge? But we'll see after Imola, I think.
And Isidro, Lance Stroll this weekend, nothing really to write home about. A pretty bad qualifying. Didn't get out of Q1, and didn't really get up to much. He ended up in 12th, I think, in the end, from back in 18th. But nothing really to write home about from Stroll today.
No, it was a bit disappointing comparing with the previous in Baku. But Alonso was solid as well, and that was enough to get a few points. Although Stroll do need to keep the points, otherwise Mercedes will slowly catch up on Aston Martin.
Yeah, the consistency seems to be there for Mercedes, getting those top 10 finishes. Before we move on from Aston Martin, Dave, did you see? Oh, sorry, you want to say something there? Go on.
I was just going to say something for you. So when we're finished, kind of analyzing everybody here for yesterday's race, I want to hear what everybody's thoughts were on the driver of the day, or who people would have picked for the driver of the day.
Oh, okay.
So I just thought I'd throw that in there to keep that in mind for the end.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So just a quick one about Fernando complimenting Stroll and his driving while watching the big screens as he was driving around. It was pretty funny.
It just shows how much in control of that position he was. He had nothing else to do but watch those screens. I mean, yeah, it's poor old Lance Stroll, though. Jesus. He's better than that. I mean, I don't think that does him any justice whatsoever. Just it did show, though, that it was strange that some cars, because going into that race, a lot of drivers said that it was going to be impossible to overtake because the track was green and offline was just slippy as hell. Like there was no grip out there at all. But there was cars able to overtake, but sort of further back, it just there was some drivers it was a confidence thing. They just weren't willing to give it, risk it, and other drivers were. So I wouldn't take anything from Lance Stroll on the performance. We know he's better than that, and that car is better than that.
Yeah, it's surprising again that there was no flags whatsoever when there was this lack of confidence in the cars, and we saw the qualifying. There was a spin here and there. We nearly had the Gasly Norris incident that I predicted.
Yeah,
but absolutely nothing. Are you surprised by the fact that we had no flags whatsoever in this race?
Especially as there was a green track. Like I said, especially that it rained, all the rubber was gone off the track. It was gusty. All the drivers were talking on the grid, like they were concerned about the wind. So I 100% expected there was going to be a spin, even just a sort of a self-inflicted one at best. I didn't necessarily think there was going to be drivers taking each other out, but definitely thought there was going to be a self-inflicted spin somewhere. But yeah, nothing at all.
Makes it hard to podcast on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a bit. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Mercs yesterday. Seemed to be. Oh, Cedro, sorry, I see you there.
Maybe it's the fact that Latifi is gone. So with him, it was always guaranteed to have a flag or a DNF or a safety car on.
Latifi and Mazepin, we would have been in for a hell of a Miami GP.
Yeah, it was not to be, though.
No.
Every driver can actually drive their car this year. Let's talk about George and Lewis in the Mercs. A few complaints back to the wall. Lewis doing his usual thing, talking about tires. George complaining about the front wing, something that never really came to fruition. And they seemed to kind of just, again, like Alonso, they were just ticking away. There's a few nice overtakes. Merc did okay today, Dave, didn't they?
I think they did a great job considering where they thought they would have finished. Hamilton obviously had a bit of a moan at the start. I know Russell was concerned about the wing, your possible wing damage, but I think they did great. And they, by far, I thought they were better than Ferrari, especially when you consider sort of where we thought Ferrari were in comparison to Mercedes, that Ferrari were going to be maybe like sort of well ahead of Mercedes at this stage. So the fact that they come to this race and Mercedes are looking like they are a little bit more in control and had a little bit more of a performance over Ferrari, There's definitely going to be a concern for Ferrari and a plus for Mercedes. But I think as well, going into Imola, like they have a big upgrade coming in Imola, which is supposed to sort of highlight sort of issues that they have at the moment, and will sort of, the idea I think is to give them a sort of a stable platform to build on for the rest of the season. So I think we could see, all going well for Mercedes now, we could see something happening for them from Imola onwards. But I mean, how many times have we said this? And
Yeah.
you know, it just turns into a shopping trolley with a lick of paint.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
It was impressive enough when you think about where Hamilton started. He was in P13 when he started the race,
And he dropped back even further as well at one stage.
is right, yeah, and then came back, fought back to P6. So I mean, a pretty damn good race considering it's really just the Sky coverage that made it. They didn't really focus on Hamilton an awful lot, but he did great to get back to where he was.
Well, to be fair, the coverage on that race, the race director, I found that we were looking at, like there was that overtake after Verstappen overtook Perez and they were going down to the back straight. I kind of wanted to see whether Perez had enough left to try and, you know, catch Verstappen on the back straight. You know, I knew he wasn't going to be able to battle too much longer, but I thought on the initial overtake, let's follow the battle and see what happens. But no, we ended up cutting to a scene of the crowd, of someone in the crowd just cheering on the overtake. And I'm like, and then when we cut back to the live scenes, like Verstappen was like a second and a half ahead. And I was like, all right, so I didn't need to watch it then. Is that what you're telling me? Like, you know, so yeah, some of the race directing was absolutely brutal, like for the video feed.
Yeah, is that the same? Is it the same person who takes care of that every race, or does that change?
I haven't a clue, if I'm honest. I don't know whether they ship them around or whether they use. I actually no idea. Not a clue.
Anything to say about Mercedes and Hamilton in particular today, Isidro?
I think Hamilton was very good this race, especially the part where he let Russell go without any fight. I think that was a good point for him to show maturity and say, yeah, I'll let him go. I know he can do better than me just moaning here. So I think it was a fair point from Hamilton.
Maybe some hope for Mercedes to get that car right. They definitely have the drivers, though, don't they? All right, let's move on to Ferrari. Dave, is it luck or is it just what is going on at Ferrari?
Oh, I don't know. Like today, or not today. Gee, I forgot we're on Monday.
Yeah,
this race weekend, I don't know what happened to them. Like it's absolute disaster. And do you know what I'm concerned about? Well, to start with, actually, the low point was when you watch Leclerc's where Leclerc should have been battling with maybe Alonso or Mercedes and, you know, looking at the top end of the, you know, looking for a podium. Instead, he's back in P10 battling with their customer car in a HAAS. And you're like, oh my days, like this has gone Pete Tong really fast. Like this is not good. And I don't know, I have a feeling that there's a Vettel Ferrari relationship forming here when Vettel got booted, that Vettel lost confidence in Ferrari's ability and Ferrari lost confidence in Vettel, and there was a bit of a loggerhead going on there in the team, and as a result then Vettel passed, you know moved on, like, you know, and just gave, you know, where do you go, Aston Martin. And I just have a feeling that there's I don't know. I just get the sense that there's a bit, the drivers are getting frustrated with the car and the team and not having the car that they want. But I also get the feeling from the team side of things that they feel that the driver should be extracting more, that they've got a bit more reliability and the driver should be extracting more from the car. And I could nearly see both points. I mean, I can see Leclerc maybe making more mistakes this year than he's ever made. Like we thought he was going to, you know, it was understood in his first years, you know, he was going to make mistakes, but as things went on, we assumed he was going to mature, he was going to settle in, he was going to grow in confidence, but it just seems to be going the opposite completely. If anything, I would say Sainz has more of a level head in the car than Leclerc does. So I don't know if it kind of keeps escalating like this. I could see by the end of the season, not necessarily Ferrari want to get rid of Leclerc because they don't think he's a good driver, but just that the team aren't on the same page. They're frustrated with each other, and if another opportunity comes up, either or may take it. I could be way out of line, but that's just my feeling so far, that things are not progressing with them since last year, and the same thing happened with Vettel. So that's my early take on it.
I mean, there was a little bit of smoke there a few weeks ago with the whole Mercedes Leclerc thing, and it
was.
It could happen. Maybe his head has been turned a little bit by that also. But Isidro, what do you think of Ferrari this weekend? Complete disaster yet again.
Yeah, complete disaster. And like I said before, I think Ferrari is missing Binotto. I mean, it's been 4 races and it's not looking good so far. I mean, the worst that Ferrari had last year was maybe P8 or P6. And right now they had 2 DNFs and a P12 overall so far. I mean, that's not looking good. And Leclerc is definitely not the same as he was before. Not sure if it's in his head, his car, or both, but definitely there's something there.
Yeah.
And maybe Leclerc will jump to Mercedes and Ferrari get an experienced driver like Hamilton, and maybe things can get better. But at the moment, Ferrari is not good. Even HAAS was looking better this weekend than Ferrari.
Now,
and this is HAAS.
We don't mention HAAS on this podcast.
Unless it's in a
negative,
light-hearted, yeah. Unless we're poking fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ferrari are sorry, across you, Scott. Yeah, Ferrari are like, I mean, they're 4th in the constructors behind Mercedes and Aston Martin. I mean, who would have thought that going into this season after last season? I mean, everybody assumed, that car was a perfect platform for this season to build on, and I think most people thought that they were maybe not necessarily going to win the titles this year, but maybe they were going to be able to challenge, win a few races, or at least put the scares up Red Bull a little bit. I mean, they've gone backwards. They had a great platform. If they could have just got the reliability right and then start tweaking it, but they seem to have got the reliability right, or to some degree, they've improved the reliability, and everything else has just gone backwards. So I don't know. Even the strategies have improved. Like, I mean, I don't think there's any really necessary strategy calls that I've kind of gone, Jesus, what are they doing? I think the strategies seem to be okay. It's just, I don't know, just the performance, like I said, confidence in the car from the drivers. I think we spoke about this actually going back a few races ago about what was going on with Ferrari. Was it like the second race in or something? And we just said that we felt that the drivers didn't have the confidence in the car.
Yeah.
So this seemed to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, well, and Italy comes up next in the calendar, so interesting to see how they react to that.
Well, they're already getting slated in the press in Italy, so if they absolutely make a balls of it in Italy, in Imola, they'll be hung. They'll be trying to getting special forces to get them out of the country. Like,
well, the heat is on. It'll be interesting to see how that develops over the next few races. Let's have a quick little chat before we move on to the best of the rest today. Last week on the podcast, we decided to go in pretty hard on Alpine, saying that we could probably replace them completely on the grid with no one, and it'd make the same difference. So this week they decided to shove it right in our faces and come back with a P8 and P9. Dave, Alpine, take it away.
They will be outside the top 10 in Imola. Okay. Guaranteed. I think they've only both finished inside the top 10 once, I think, so far this season. I think it was it Bahrain? Was it, or Saudi? Let me have a quick gander here. Everybody hold their drawers for a second till I prove my point. Yes, I think it was only in Saudi Arabia, I think they finished inside the top 10. Oh no, they had a car inside the top 10 actually, sorry, in Bahrain as well, one car. So I mean, look, they went from what, 8th and 9th to 13th and 14th and back to 8th and 9th. I mean, hardly hardly time to call in the Red Bull catering team for the party. Like, it's we know they do the best expensive sandwiches over there.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I think they're gonna drop out of that again. I think they're gonna drop outside the top 10. I think they're gonna fluctuate for the next while. I don't know what major upgrades or if any major upgrades they have coming for Imola. And again, going into this season, I was more hopeful for Alpine. I think everybody was. I thought they had a car that was going to do something and maybe sort of be up in the mix in the constructors for maybe the fourth place or third place. No, not a chance. Yeah, I think they're going to fluctuate for a while.
Right. Okay. So, Isidro, is the Renaissance on or off at Alpine?
I've got to say, it didn't feel natural to see Ocon in third place for around 10 laps or something.
Yeah.
Didn't feel right. But I think they'll be, like they were saying, they'll be fluctuating. But I imagine if they keep what they're doing and Ferrari keep what they're doing, Alpine might get Ferrari on the fourth place.
Interesting. Go on, Dave.
This meaning that Ferrari is just be a mess over time, basically. Not Alpine improving, but Ferrari just dropping the ball more and more.
I think I just checked there as well. Actually, they've upgrades coming for Imola that are supposed to be worth or rumored to be worth 0.3 of a second.
Ooh.
So if that comes good, I mean, they may be more consistently inside that top 10. So I think there's going to be a lot of, with all the upgrades teams are bringing for Imola, I think we're going to really sort of start seeing what the lay of the land is in terms of the development race and where people will be for the rest of the season. And so yeah, kind of just funny. I like Imola, but it's never been my kind of. I'm excited for that. It's not one that I kind of mark on the calendar as my favorite. But I have to say this year now, it's because of the way Red Bull have just dominated. Other teams have dropped off and haven't gained and stuff like that. But there's a lot of kind of potential around the upgrades coming to Imola for the rest of the season. So I'm kind of excited for Imola now this year.
Yeah, no, I do like Imola. I like it as a track.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting one. All right, Dave, I'll let you take this one. We'll talk a little bit about your favorite team, HAAS. What do you think of K-Mag this weekend getting inside the top 10?
Really, we're talking about HAAS, and you use me as the first person to ask.
You've got to
All
give
right.
it to K-Mag, in fairness.
Oh shit! I dropped my pen. All right, that's how enraged I was. I dropped my pen on the floor. Yeah, Kevin Magnan. Do you know what? Kevin Magnan did a great job. I think that battle with Ferrari, I think, was more not just about Magnussen and Haas doing a great job, but more Ferrari doing a terrible job and having to be back there in that battle. Hulkenberg, I have in my fantasy team, but didn't do much. But he still got me 4 points though. But largely, I I've not much to say on Haas. Yeah, like I said, K-Mag did a good job, but yeah, I'd sooner see them finish last.
Cedro, what do you think of K-Mag there in qualifying as well, picking up a P4?
He was so happy at the end. You could see the joy that will never happen again this season, most likely, especially because Leclerc messed up. So I'm not sure if that was on purpose.
Well,
but
he did get a P1 last year though.
Did he?
So yeah, do you not remember? He got P1 in wasn't it in the Circuit of the Americas or something?
Was it a sprint race that he got P1 in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wasn't it one of the American races?
That's right. It was a sprint race though, and I got him to qualify first on the grid. I think was it Brazil? I think it might have been Brazil.
I have to. Oh, that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. Hang on a second. I'll just quickly check.
I think Russell.
It was Brazil. Look at you with your memory.
I know, yeah.
But
I
didn't
don't know what
look
it
as
is. For
happy.
F1, it's good, but everything else, it's terrible.
These kids, Isidro, being able to have longevity in their in memory. Me and Isidro tend to forget the end of our sentence by the time we've started.
Just wasting away.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dave, talk to me about the rookies. You've got a little point you'd like to bring up about the rookies this season.
Yeah, I was just wondering what everybody's opinion was on the rookies this year, because I mean, we've got De Vries, Piastri, and Logan Sargent this year. And De Vries, like I only have 3 little short points on each of them, but De Vries, I think, could end up finding himself not lasting the whole season if he doesn't kind of sort of smarten up quick, because Helmut Marko is ruthless. He's no problem just axing someone. And the fact that you're a rookie means nothing to him. You know, I'm sure you get a race or two to learn the ropes, but it's Formula One. You know, you don't get a betting in season. You know, you get, unless you have serious world potential, you know, world championship potential, but otherwise you're gone. And I think De Vries, if he keeps performing the way he is and finishing down the back or crashing out DNF, I think he could be gone by the end of the season. Piastri, I think, is doing the best job he can in that McLaren, and I think he's on par with what Lando's producing in that McLaren, give or take. So I don't think we're really seeing the best of Piastri, but out of the 3 rookies that are there this year, I think probably Piastri is the one that has the most potential, because then Logan Sargent, like in that Williams, I mean, Albon. Now I think Albon's is, I think I've said it loads of times, he's like the George Russell. When George Russell left, like George Russell, like he just extracted so much out of that car more than it was able to do. I think Alex Albon is doing that. He's pushing that car to within its limits or a little bit beyond. But Logan Sargent doesn't see. Logan Sargent, I think, is driving a Williams from 3 years ago or something like that, where they didn't even stand a ghost chance of getting off the back row of the grid. Yeah. So again, if that continues, I don't see him. He'll last the season. Williams aren't a team that will probably, that would consider axing him midway through the season, because I mean, there's not much for them to gain if they did that. But certainly he'll get the full season, and I can't imagine if he continues those performances and doesn't get past the back of the grid, he'll be gone as well, I'd say, by the end of the or at the end of the season.
Yeah, Isidro, the rooks.
I think one of the problems with Nick De Vries is that he set the bar higher when he did 2 points last year, the first time getting an F1 seat, and he got the AlphaTauri, and now he's just a disappointment. So that will not look good on him. But I don't know if it's his fault, it's the car, but you set the bar high when you got 2 points on the F1 seat for the first time. Now you are a full F1 driver and you get nothing in 5 races. Yeah, Dave?
No, before you move on to the other 2 drivers, on that De Vries one, you're 100% right. We said this last season as well, when there was talk of him getting the drive this year. And we said, how can he be getting offered? Like, he was being offered a Formula One drive on the back of 1 race that earned him, 2 points in a Williams that was suited. That was, I think that was that Monza or Imola? It was one of the Italian races.
Yeah, it was one of the Italian ones, yeah. And
it was on a circuit that really suited that Williams. Like, the Williams really performed well. So like, it wasn't necessarily like, yes, he did a good job, but you could have had anybody else in that car. It suited it. And he got a drive off the back of that. Yeah, I remember at the time I was raging. Sorry.
I think he largely benefited from the fact that Latifi was the one who was driving the car usually. Williams were so starved of having any sort of decent driver in there that they're like, we have to take this guy. Let's give him a contract, please.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sorry, Isidro, for interrupting you.
And Logan Sargent, I think he can do better. I'm not sure if he's afraid of crashing car far too much time, and then it will happen the same. It happened to Mick Schumacher, that while you crash 6-7 times, you are costing 1, 2, 3 million. You gotta go. So I'm not sure if Logan is afraid of that. I think he needs to push that Williams much, much harder, because Albon is doing the same and he's trying to get points. I think he got 1 point so far, I think. So I think he needs just to push further that Williams and not be afraid of crashing the car if he needs. And Piastri is doing well from all the rookies. I mean, it's a McLaren, and it's a McLaren from this year, not last year. So based on that, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I'd largely agree with the points. I don't think I have anything really to add there. You've covered it all up. Dave, you want to have a little chat about the driver of the day?
Oh, I was curious what everyone's driver of the day was, because I think the official driver of the day was given to Max Verstappen, and I thought that was a bit not really warranted, considering you could have put a potato in that Red Bull, and he would have still got it onto the, into P1. It was, you've got people go around in shopping trolleys, and then you've got someone with a rocket on their back. It was just there was no competition in it for him. I thought to be warranted driver of the day. I know he can only race what he has in front of him, but I think if you're up against it, I think there's other people that maybe benefit from or deserve driver of the day. And I'll be honest, I thought maybe like Lewis Hamilton or something like that, maybe George Russell, someone in a car that maybe shouldn't have performed as well as it did. They had competition. It was hard fought. But I mean, if you're driving a car with cheat codes, how can you get driver of the day? Like, it was inevitable you were going to win it.
The question really is, do you now stop Max Verstappen getting driver of the day for the rest of the season because of the car that he's in, regardless of the performance?
No, of course not. But I just thought in that particular, like, I mean, you have to to get driver of the day, I think you have to prove it was an effort. You had to work hard at it. Like, I didn't see there was much, like, I mean, yes, he came from 9th to 1st, and on paper that sounds like a serious challenge, but not for that Red Bull. I mean, look how easy. I mean, he overtook K-Mag and Leclerc both going into turn one. Just kind of went, I'm not going to do one at a time to take both of them. Do it was just, that's how easy it was. Like, I mean, he then took, I think, was it Ocon? He took, or was it Ocon or Gasly? Who was it with the Alpines he took?
Gasly.
Oh, it's
Gasly, sorry. And then the Ferraris he took it's just like, it was easy. There was no challenge. And that's why I just think it was a bit unfair giving him driver of the day when, you're in a car that just does not offer, it doesn't allow for anyone to be competitive and cause you a bit of any sort of a challenge. Not saying that he's not a great driver or anything like that, of course, and that he never deserves driver of the day. Of course he does. But just in this particular race, I think there was no challenge to him whatsoever. 9th, he could have started last and got P1. I mean, he even said at the start, or Alonso said, he says, I expect to see Verstappen in my wing mirrors by lap 25. And then in the cool down room, he turns around and says, how long was it? And he goes, I think it was lap 14. I mean, that just shows like how easy it was. Like, when the likes of an experienced driver like Alonso expected it to be lap 25, but in reality, it turned out to be lap 14. Like, yeah, I would have given it to the likes of Hamilton or something like that. So I was wondering who you guys would have given for your driver of the day.
Go on, Isidro.
Why not K-Mag? I don't like us, but he defended that.
You've asked
was
and
always
answered
on the
your
points.
question.
Was always on the point. Start before he fought with Leclerc, and he still got 1 point at the end of the day. That's something. Because all the other drivers that you said, they always been driver of the day. I don't think K-Mag ever got that.
So we're giving him driver of the day just because he's never won it before. Is this like this is the woke version of F1? Is it? Everyone gets a participation medal.
show and tell in primary school, so you get your chance to get it. Don't worry.
All right, so I'm going to go with Hamilton. Zedro's going with K-Mag. Who have you got for your driver of the day, Scotty?
I would agree with you, Dave. Yeah, no, I'd say Hamilton. Seeing as we're not giving it to Verstappen.
You would have given it to Verstappen?
I think so. Coming from P9, I know it was easy, but he can't help the fact that it's so easy for him. It's not his fault.
That's no way of justifying. He can't help that he's in a class car and there was no challenge. Like, that's like saying like, everybody pulled over and he just drove straight from P9 to P1 because nobody else was on the track, but not his fault.
I don't know. I wouldn't have taken it away from him. I think it was a phenomenal drive. We're going to see more of this throughout the season. I think this is a conversation we're going to have week by week. Like, okay, but this week it was this amount of easy for Verstappen, so we can't give him the driver of the day this week because it was this easy. I don't think that's fair to him. I think he could put him in any other car and he'd still challenge.
Well, I vote, as we all have very differing opinions here, I vote at the end of the podcast before we roll on to the prediction game, we all fucking throw our fucking driver of the day into the hat and justify it because could be interesting.
I like that. Well, on saying that, Dave, I've got no more points to really bring up. So we are at that point where we're heading on to the predictions game.
Just on the point thing, Max Verstappen only got 27% of the votes for driver of the day, and Perez got 12.
So Perez was second with 12.
Yeah.
Jesus, 12th was second place. Bloody hell. What was third place?
Alonso, 9.8% of the votes.
That's lazy voting, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that was very much a, Max Verstappen bandwagon voting, wasn't it? That was, yeah. That was very much a Scotty run poll, that was.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking it away from Max. Feck it. All right, Dave, will we go on? What are we
Yeah,
gonna...
prediction game. No, that was it. I was ready to just launch straight in. I wasn't even allowing you to do your wrap up and finish it.
Let's move on to the prediction game. Go on.
All right, okay. All right, let's launch in here now. So, okay, we'll have a quick recap of the table, which says I'm on 2 points, Scotty on 1 point, and Isidro on 0 points. But I have a feeling that could be changing this week.
Uh-oh.
So, my top 3 prediction for this week was Max Verstappen. I got 1 point for that. Leclerc, or no, I didn't get 1 point. Sorry, I got it right. 0 for Leclerc, and Alonso, I got correct. Scotty, who did you have?
Well, currently I'm trying to get into the predictions game, so why don't you tell me who I had?
I'll tell you who you had. You had Max Verstappen. And for some reason, you have Alex Albon, P2.
What? Fucking that.
All right, you had Perez, P2, and Alonso, P3.
Beautiful.
All right, Isidro.
I got Perez first, Max second, and Alonso third.
All right, so we have a bit of an issue here. Scotty's in the lead so far.
Woo!
All right, my flop for this week was Perez with a DNF. Did not happen. Are you into your...
No, I'm not. I can't get it open.
For fuck's sake.
Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. Okay, so my flop for the week was
not being able to open Google Drive.
Yeah, that too. Lando Norris DNF, which did not happen, and I also predicted that Gasly would take him out, which nearly happened.
Yeah.
But no cigar. 0 points.
And Isidro.
Hamilton, DNF, didn't have
Nothing.
either.
Oh my God, I'm an embarrassment to this game. I had Nick DeVries in the top 10. What a joke.
That's the last time that happens.
All right.
Scotty,
you're surprised.
Yeah, I went for an Albon top 10, which didn't happen either.
No, but I mean, there was more reality in that than DeVries.
Yeah.
And of course,
Albon top 10.
Copying the homework. We should switch it up and have Isidro go second for a while, see what happens.
No.
All right. So, and my outside bet of Mick Schumacher getting a top 10 finish did not happen either.
So close. So close.
All right. Well, the totals mean that Scotty takes the win this week.
2 weeks in a
And
row.
what does that mean for the tables? That means me and Scotty joint top on 2 points each, and Isidro at the bottom with 0 points.
That's what happens when you copy the homework.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Next up, Imola. So, what's Imola? 2 weeks' time, isn't it? Yeah. So, Imola, my predictions are like, as it's a fairly fast circuit, I mean, I'd be mad not going with Verstappen. All right, just hang on a second. Just throw. Oh, sorry. Max Verstappen, P1. I'm going Perez, P2. And until I see evidence to the contrary, I'm going to have to go Alonso, P3. It's like having Haaland in your Premier League fucking fancy team.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, my top 3.
Should I just copy and paste the top 3 for all of us, or?
No. I'm going to change it up. So my top 3. There's evidence for this so far. Perez and Verstappen have been trading back and forth throughout the last few races. So Verstappen had his shot last week. I'm going to say Perez is going to be P1. I'm going to go for Verstappen P2.
Yeah.
And here's my outside bet.
Oh, wow.
Carlos Sainz P3.
Well, he DNF last year, so he's due a result, I guess.
Yeah, and it's in Italy. I think there's something there for Ferrari home race, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
All right, Isidro.
But hang on, you're ruling out the both Aston Martins and both Mercedes and Leclerc, all 5 drivers, just not going to get that P3. You're going with Sainz.
I'm not ruling them out. I'm ruling that Sainz will have a performance.
All right.
You know,
all right. I can't argue against it. Well, I tried, but I can't. All right, Isidro, who you got for your top three?
Max, Perez, and Alonso.
Yeah, copying my homework.
learn by now.
No threats on the Ferrari boys.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. All right. So my flop, who do I have? Let me go to. Oh yeah, I forgot this. This does follow up from Zidro's comment of no confidence. I'm going with Leclerc DNF.
Oh, DNF as well.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you see?
I just think there's going to be it's going to be self-inflicted. He's going to bin it in a wall, I think, or into a gravel trap or something like that. I think he's either not confident enough or he's overconfident and pushes the car beyond the grip that he has, and he's going to put it into a gravel trap or something.
Yeah, I could well see that happening.
Self-inflicted though.
Interesting. Okay, my flap for the week is going to be Hamilton, and I'll see if you give this to me outside the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I give that to you. Yeah.
He's been damn consistent this season, so I'm going to take a punt on Hamilton not putting in a performance here.
He's fourth in drivers' championship.
Yeah, I know.
He's got he's
a punt.
Yeah. You go for a couple of punts this week. Sainz and getting that P3 and Hamilton DNF. I like it.
Yeah, it's the confidence of winning 2 weeks in a row now. You see?
Yeah. I like it. Nothing like seeing someone throw away a hat trick of wins.
Yeah.
All right, Zidro, who's your flop for Imola?
I would go with Russell outside top 10. No. Could be outside top 5.
Is this just copying someone else's homework in different writing styles?
Yeah. Using your left hand to write.
No, Josh Russell DNF.
DNF.
I was still considering the outside the top 5 thing, but no.
So we're gonna have
because
I wouldn't have given it to you anyway.
No, outside top 5 wasn't happening, but outside top 10 I would have given it to him. But I mean, he that doesn't include a DNF. You'd have to pick one or the other.
No, Russell DNF.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay.
Those updates will only work for
Mr.
Hamilton.
Reliability. All right. Okay. My fucking surprise is going to be if you couldn't tell by the cursing, I couldn't find what my surprise was. My surprise is I've gone with Albon top 10.
Safe bet. That's a popular one.
Well, the Williams is strong
Hmm.
strong. It should be strong here. So
Was this the race last year, or maybe it was Australia? Actually, he went for the whole race without changing the tires. That was Australia, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Australia last year. Sorry, I thought it was Italy. Yeah, good safe bet. Okay, my surprise. I don't know if you'll give me this one. Norris inside the top 10. There's silence. They're pondering.
I mean,
If you
I want to say yes. I think that should be allowed. I mean, the McLarens are brutal.
they're crap. And look at the recent results. I mean, he did get a P9 in Azerbaijan
And a P6 in Australia.
Yeah, but I mean, they look terrible.
I mean, you can't I couldn't force him to go any higher than a top 10 because if he said inside the top 8, that's getting a bit unlikely. So it's going to be between 8 and 10. Oh.
Okay, what if I lock a position?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's there's a unanimous yes to that then. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say Lando Norris P8.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll give it to you.
Oh, great. Good.
I just meant P8. I was like, I would have fucking gone with probably P10 or P9 or something.
I want to get this one across the line.
All right. All right. Now, Zidro, your surprise.
Similar to Scotty.
Of course it is.
Piastri top 10.
The which?
Piastri top 10.
Yeah.
Piastri.
Yeah, that's safe.
Top 10.
That's what I say. I think you only got the P8 in Australia, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think we have to give position on that one because I mean he's a rookie. Like it's not like Norris would be a bit more expecting. So
I'd agree with that one.
okay, All right, that's perfect. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to Imola now next week. That should be good.
2
So, well, that's it for this week, everybody. We shall be back in 2 weeks for the Imola GP race review. And as always, get following and liking and all that usual jazz. And feel free to join us on the Late Night Race Review official fantasy football. Why do I always say that? It just comes from the heart.
Yeah.
The official F1 fantasy league. There's prizes and all that jazz in it. So join us until next week. No, 2 weeks.